All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to Big Discussions 76 Sports. This is, yeah, my microphone is on. This is going to be a Michigan football live stream. As a matter of fact, a preview of Michigan versus USC in the Big House this Saturday at 3:30. All right, I'm not going to waste a lot of time. Let me make sure I can see myself on YouTube, and then I will jump right in. I have a few thoughts. Um, I hope to get some of your thoughts as well. And I have a guest who I think is gonna join me for a little bit before I wrap up. I plan to just hang out for about an hour because I have a bunch of other things to do. So with that, I will see you all on the other side of the intro. Once again, I'm gonna go with the yellow and blue. It's that kind of mood this year for the Michigan Wolverines. So I will see you all on the other side of the intro. This is the yellow and blue, the USC edition. Whoops, that's the wrong button. Hold on. Hey everyone, I'm going to do that over because I don't know if it hesitated there out on in viewer land, but over here it hesitated. So I'm a stickler for details. So let's do that one more time, and hopefully the technology works with me. Please smash that like button. No matter how long you stay, some people hop in and they hop back out. Please smash that like button. Okay, so one more time, the yellow and blue, take two. All right. Well, that was the yellow and blue. Once again, that is the mood for this year. I think the fan base is it's a much different ride than it was last year when we went 15-0. A lot of folks, like someone in the comments, someone, a lot of folks, like someone there in the chat, would say that there were some unscrupulous activities going on that led us to that 15-0 record. But those unscrupulous activities weren't going on when it mattered the most at the latter part of the Big Ten schedule last year. But anyway, so it's a bit of a rebuild. It's a bit of a rebuild. This is one of the most agonizing parts of sports, but it's also one of the most exciting parts of sports. And our coaching staff, Coach Sharon Moore and his coaching staff, they are in a rebuild. Now, I thought about this and I made the observation that it's one thing to assume the helm of a team with a first round NFL quarterback and a veteran offensive line, a veteran running backs room with two experienced wide receivers and a young rookie receiver and two quality tight ends. It's easy to assume that and take that over and get 3 quality wins against Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State, Mr. AD. But it is altogether a different thing to have to reload that offense with a new quarterback, with a new offensive line, with 2 lesser proven wide receivers, with only one of your tight ends coming back, and after losing Blake Corum. So it's been a tall order for this coaching staff, and these 2 individuals right here at the top, they've been under a lot of scrutiny and a lot of heat. Coach Sharon Moore, but also Kirk Campbell, because these guys, no one really knows what they saw in practice in terms of our 2 quarterbacks, Davis Warren and Alex Orji. But Alex Orji was the favorite initially, at least we all thought he was. And then something happened in fall camp, and Davis Warren emerged as the starter. So something happened there. But now these guys are under scrutiny. Michigan stumbled out of the gate against Fresno State. They got their rear ends handed to them at the hands of the Texas Longhorns, and they beat Arkansas State last week, but the game was riddled with, interceptions by Davis Warren, which leads us to this latest development. But also, I'm going to scroll down because the OG of the Baltimore Ravens defense, Mr. Wink Martindale, he's also under a lot of scrutiny because while he is the OG and the godfather of the Michigan defense, and he trained up Jesse Minter and he trained up Mike McDonald, a lot of people feel like that he's blitzing too much, and he has departed from what Jesse Minter had done to make that defense so successful. And I was listening to Joe Klatt earlier as I was coming back from the gym, and Joel Klatt pointed out that one of the keys to Michigan's success over the last 3 years, aside from the controversies that some of us have constantly been talking about, Michigan played complementary defense. And so the offense complemented the defense complemented the offense, and Joel Klatt gave his boa constrictor analogy. But the balance isn't quite the same this year. The offensive line isn't pass protecting the way that it was. Davis Warren has looked very uncomfortable at the quarterback position, and in that Arkansas State game, he threw 3 interceptions, and that's not in sync. The running game, aside from some great runs by Khalil Mullings, the running game has struggled a little bit, and they haven't gotten much going outside to the skill position players, with the exception of Colston Loveland. Now, the defense, going back to the defense, one of the criticisms of Wink Martindale is that he's blitzing too much, and that Michigan relied the last couple of years on twists and stunts and getting to the opposing quarterback without having to blitz the linebackers. So there's a concern that we've been too reliant on blitzes this year. And also, I was watching Johnny Olden last night. Jair Hill, that side of the secondary, there's a lot of concern for that side of the secondary. So it's a different team. It's a bit of a rebuild, but as I'll describe, it looks like our coaching staff was forced to make a key change this week, and that is the quarterback position. I want to talk about that, but let's take a quick look at the top 25 really, really quickly. I'm going to read some of your comments here. Buckeye Alex, this is Buckeye Alex. This is one of the things he says, sniper out on all digital platforms, Brev. I'm not sure. I have an idea of where he got that from, but I don't know it for sure. Holden, MM2, let's go blue. Thank you. Please smash that like button if you haven't. Let's see. AD says you just admitted that they cheated. No, I think I said you think that they cheated. Yeah, I didn't say anything. He says Diddy was just indicted. How convenient. And Abdul Gaines, who used to root for the Maize and Blue, says there's no Big Ten. He says there's no Big Ten major non-conference games this season where the Wolverines will have an advantage at QB. Please smash that like button if you haven't. Please keep letting me know what you think there in the chat. Let's take a quick look at the top 25, and then I will get to this week's big development at Schembechler Hall. Please smash that like button if you haven't. The likes are free, and also consider subscribing to the channel. The top 25. That's not the top 25. This is the CBS top 25. All right. I'm going to sprint through this really quickly. I don't intend to be long tonight. So Texas is the big boy on the block now. Texas is number 1. Georgia is number 2. They had an unimpressive victory against Kentucky, I believe, last week. Ohio State, Abdul Gaines and Buckeye Alex, your team is number 3. Alabama's number 4. I'm not going to read through all of these, but let's see. Where is USC? Yeah, USC is number 11. Okay. And our Michigan Wolverines have slid to number 18. So that is Michigan started at number 10 or number 9. I think it was number 10. And the coaches, they rewarded Michigan with a slide down to number 18 for that Fresno State win, that Texas loss, and that loss to Arkansas State. Okay, so what happened? And if Michigan continues to lose, and if they continue to peter along, don't be surprised if they fall out of the top 25. But we have to wait and see what happens. They just made a big change at the beginning of this week, which might turn this whole thing around. So what was that change? You guys know what it is. The quarterback position. So after 3 weeks of watching Davis Warren struggle in the backfield and throw interceptions and look out of sync, the Wolverines, Sharon Moore and Kurt Campbell, they made the executive decision to give Alex Orji a shot, okay, at being QB1. I'll just say that I think all of us were looking for that at the beginning of the season, and we were looking for that, during the spring and after JJ declared for the NFL draft. We were all looking for Alex Orji to be QB1. I think his physical tools speak for themselves. He was able to give opposing defenses, Ohio State included, a different look last season on the ground. But I think the big uncertainty was his arm. The big uncertainty was how much yardage would he be able to generate through the air, and what would Michigan do if they had to throw the ball down the field? Could Alex Orji do that for the team? Now, Coach Antoine is not here. You guys know Coach Antoine. He's one of my regular viewers. Coach Antoine, throughout the spring, his whole thing was RPO, 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 RPO. We don't need a vertical passing game. If we just run the RPO, we've got Alex, we've got Donovan, we've got Khalil Mullings. And if we can do that, then we really don't need a vertical passing game. Okay. I saw Antoine's logic, but then the question is, what do you do if teams come in and they load the box and they make it impossible for Alex Orji to use that run pass option? What happens if they take that away and they force Michigan to throw the ball down the field? I think that was the big question mark. So then the other question is, what did Sharon Moore and Kirk Campbell see over the summertime, over the spring, that made them go with Davis Warren as QB1 in game one? I think a lot of us, well, first of all, Alex hasn't really had a chance to show. He really hasn't had a chance to show what he can do. So we know that. So yeah, so it's been said that some quarterbacks actually play better in the games than they do in practice. So it's entirely possible that we'll see something this week in the game that Coach Moore and Kirk Campbell were unable to see in practice. And I was going to say something else, and I forgot what that was. But I think a major thing, and a lot of people have been echoing this, and I'm going to move on from this development. Kirk, it's not Kurt. Some of y'all have been saying Kurt's, you've been confusing me. Kirk Campbell, the wise thing for him to do this week will be to install plays and packages specifically for Alex Orji. Okay. Whether that's multiple tight ends, whether that's those run pass option packages, it will be asinine for Kirk Campbell to line Alex Orji up off the bat in a 4 wide and a 5 wide formation. Okay. They're going to have to call plays and call formations that are conducive to what he can do. And I'm not even sure those formations were good for Davis Warren. But in this particular instance, with Alex's skill set and with what Alex can do well, it's going to be important for Kirk Campbell to put in packages and formations and plays specifically for Alex Orji. Okay, some of it, the eye candy that Johnny Olden talks about. And then another thing I'll say before I get into a look at last week's game, and then a little look at USC. I thought, even if you were going to stick with Davis Warren, from what I saw, this is just me watching the Texas game, because I only watched the Arkansas State game for a little bit. I thought the offensive line, okay, this is not the best pass protecting offensive line that Michigan has had. But I thought this offensive line, I thought that against Texas early on, I thought that they were getting push at the line of scrimmage on first down and second down. Okay. And I thought that Kirk Campbell should have stuck with those types of plays, those types of formations. And then when he went to go pass the ball, I thought that he should have passed out of those formations and relied heavily on the play action pass. Okay, as opposed to going 4 wide and 5 wide for Davis Warren. Okay, I thought that was, especially with the way this offensive line was blocking, I thought that they should have stuck with the run heavy packages. And I think we should see more of those jumbo packages that like the one we saw against Penn State. I think that would be hugely advantageous for Michigan this season going forward. Okay. Alex says, everybody let me know what you think about any of this in the chat. Alex is going on about whatever he's going on about. But let me know what you think in the chat. Okay, so last week, and I didn't watch all of last week's game, so I can only comment on what I saw in the statistics. So let's take a look at last week's statistics. Let's see. And I'm just going to give a brief overview of last week's game. All right, so yeah, so Michigan defeated Arkansas State 28-18. This game, yeah, Arkansas State scored most of its points there in the fourth quarter, so the score is a little bit deceptive. But the key thing the key statistic is that Davis Warren threw 3 interceptions. And when I watched, everything looked good in that first quarter, and I had to leave, so I was looking at things on my phone. But when I watched Johnny Olden's replay, I said, "What? He threw 3? How did he throw 3?" But Davis Warren, sure enough, threw 3 interceptions in that game. So, yeah, so Davis Warren last weekend, he went 11 for 14 for 122 yards and 3 interceptions. So that clearly, in the Big Ten, with the rest of our schedule against some of the teams that we're going to play this weekend, like USC and Oregon, Washington, and then down in the Snake Pit in November, that type of performance is not going to cut it against those teams. And these are the numbers that Davis Warren has been putting up for all of his starts. So, yeah, 11 for 14 for 122 yards and 3 interceptions. So we do have a running game. So Khalil Mullings, I agree that from this point on, Khalil Mullings should – I saw my picture freeze. Okay, I saw my picture freeze again. All right, so from this point on, Khalil Mullings should be the starting running back. He should get the majority of the carries. Donovan Edwards should play in the slot. They should put him out wide. They should maybe put both of them in the backfield. But Khalil Mullings should get the majority of the carries. He's a strong runner. He's a hard runner. He's a physical runner. Okay, so that's the running back they should go with for the most part from this point on. So Khalil Mullings carried the ball 15 times for 153 yards. Marlon Klein, it looks like Marlon Klein was the all right, guys. I'm sorry about that. You guys could see me. Alex, thank you for the phone call. You guys could see me, but Chrome was doing the spinning circle thing. Okay, so I couldn't get back to you guys. I probably should have just looked at my phone to see what was going on here. And next time, that's what I'll do. Kenneth Joyce, that's right. I thought that I could not. I thought the stream was lost. All right, guys, give me 1 second. Let me grab my phone charger. Now I have to edit that out. Hold on. Well, thank you to you guys who hang on. I'm sorry. Thank you to you guys who who stayed around for that. Thank you who stayed and watched me just look at the screen. For those of you who watch this on the playback, well, at least I won't be able to edit it until the morning. But technical difficulties, Alex. That's right. Sometimes technology sucks. All right. So Arkansas State. Let me stop this, and then I'm going to go back really, really quickly because that might have been what gave my computer a little, made it a little bit unhappy. But it looks like last week. Michigan's leading receiver was Marlon Klein with 3 receptions and 43 yards, which is not very impressive. And that's not going to get it done against the caliber of opponent that we're going to play this week, or the caliber of opponents that we're going to play later on this season. Looks like you guys are talking about the wing T there. Okay, looks like we have a USC fan here. Welcome to the Big Ten, Mr. USC. All right, so let's take a quick look at the USC Trojans. I'm going to close some of these windows out so that I lessen the likelihood of something like that happening again. Okay, I'll try for a few more minutes, and then if that happens again, then that's it. All right, so USC, I'm not even going to project it. USC defeated Utah State last weekend. All right, 48-0. Okay, so USC defeated Utah State 48-0. Their quarterback is Miller Moss. Okay, and Miller Moss last week went 21 for 30 for 229 yards and 1 touchdown. Their leading rusher was Joquavius Marks. He carried the ball 13 times for 103 yards and 1 touchdown, and their leading receiver was Lake McCree with 4 receptions for 81 yards. Okay, so Michigan is going to have its hands full this weekend defending this offense, number one. Okay, so Wink Martindale is going to have to, if he gets too blitz happy, he is going to get burned. Okay, and I think the key is going to be the Michigan offense possessing the ball if they can, and then not turning it over as Davis Warren was doing, and then also getting scores, touchdowns, and field goals. We have a reliable field goal kicker this year, but that's going to be the key to the game. And because USC, they can generate yards, they can generate points, they can move the ball. So with that, I think Michigan has a tall task this week. And the prediction was that Michigan would lose 3 to 4 games this season. So this could be the second loss coming up here, unless Alex Orji, unless this quarterback change is the key to everything. Okay. All right. Snowman, are you still out there? Are you still out there? Snowman, if you're still out there, okay. Snowman, I'll drop the link. I've had some technical difficulties tonight, so if it persists, then we'll cut it. I'm already at 40 minutes. So I'm dropping the link right now, and you can let us know what you saw last week in the college football landscape and who your picks are for to win the national title, or whatever's on your mind, college football related. There's the StreamYard link. And Alex, I agree. College football is better off when the Trojans are good. Okay. They are one of the flagship programs. What's going on, tall man, Dr. K?
How are you, my friend? Great to talk to you.
I hope you brought some of your good luck computer vibes with you.
Well, I've been messing with my computer, also getting a lot of files off of it so I can speed it up. So if anybody understands technical difficulties, you're looking at him.
Okay. All right. Everybody, we've been joined by Snowman Media. I was going to say Snowman in the morning, but you're Snowman Media.
Yep. Snowman Multimedia.
Snowman Multimedia. Okay. Did you see anything that stood out to you last week in the college football landscape?
Texas and Georgia flipped spots, and they're going to keep flipping spots all the way to Atlanta. Someone has to knock off the first, even though it's a 12-team playoff.
Yeah.
Someone has to knock off either Texas or Georgia to make noise. And Michigan's not going to be one of those teams, because what I saw from them the first few weeks of the season so far, there's a little word we like to call inconsistency. And we saw that at the quarterback position, and we saw that in their running game, because their running game with Blake Corum last year could churn out yards with no problem. The other problem I see with Michigan, and I've seen this across the landscape, third down conversions, or shall I say lack thereof.
Okay.
The lack of third down conversions, especially by Michigan, and I go back a couple weeks to that game against Texas. You have the Texas Longhorns, and think about this psychologically. You have the Texas Longhorns in your house, a college football playoff participant last year. You had them in your house, and you got flat out embarrassed because you couldn't run the ball, you couldn't keep your defense off the field, and Texas chewed up something to the tune of 430 yards of offense in your house. Psychologically, that's got to play a role in what may happen with. Thank you, honey. Now, see, I just got a Hawaiian shirt with my favorite Muppet animal on it.
Oh, I thought you were going to say food. I thought you brought you some.
With the Muppets, or with the Muppets. Period. I told you, Dr. K finds the coolest things for me. But back to business. And thank you, sweetie. If Michigan doesn't figure out their offense, even with this quarterback change, no playoff for them. In fact, they may not even make a New Year's Six.
You know what, Snowman? You're right. You're right.
They were consistent last year. They were one of the best offenses in the nation, gathering nearly 400 yards of offense per game, including the playoff and the national championship. The toughest opponent they had was Alabama, because Alabama took them to overtime. Or should I say Michigan took them to overtime, because Alabama, let's face it, controlled that playoff game in the Rose Bowl. And then Michigan came back and won it. Okay?
Well, that's true, Snowman, but Michigan did have some self-inflicted wounds.
Yep.
In that game.
And this year,
punt and I think we had a missed field goal in there,
and this year those self-inflicted wounds have multiplied. That's a problem.
Well, you know, Snowman, being a sports aficionado like yourself, you know that anytime you have to rebuild. In Michigan, I think Joe Klatt did point out that Michigan is a developmental program. So last year's national title that happened over a series of years,
right?
Versus a program like Georgia at this time, or what Alabama was when Saban was there. They were always up, so they were always able to like reload really easily,
really quickly.
So I don't think we have that type of program, and they didn't. It looks like they didn't pick the right. Well, we'll see what they had to choose from this Saturday in terms of quarterback.
Yep. 17 points in the second quarter against Texas is a rarity for a Michigan defense to allow that many points in one quarter, especially the last 4 or 5 years. I go back to this Texas game because once again, 2 top 5 teams in the big house, and everybody, I truly mean this, everybody was looking forward to this game part 1, watching this game part 2, or in my community doing an alternative play-by-play call for said game. And I've had so many people come to me and ask me, why didn't you cover it? I did. I just didn't voice it. And they were like, why? Because y'all are not me. That's exactly why. But this quarterback change needs to light a fire for Michigan. It needs to light not only a fire for their offense, but a fire for their team. Because it seems like to me that they've been sleepwalking through their first 3 games. It seems to me like they have been, I don't know, coasting. They haven't truly, they have not, well, they were tested by Texas, okay? But you mix in the win against Fresno State and the win against Arkansas State, and they struggled with Arkansas State. That should be alarming.
Well, the quarterback threw 3 interceptions. So I think some of this is at the feet of the coaching staff. If the coaching staff doesn't choose the right personnel to play the majority of the snaps, and if they're not calling the right plays or smart plays, then you're going to get a pileup like the ones we've been seeing. I as I said earlier, I thought that while the game was still competitive against Texas, while we don't have the offensive line that we had last year, I thought that the pile was moving on those early downs, and they should have stuck with that. And any passing attack, they should have built around that. But instead, they went to 3 wide and 4 wide, and they trusted Davis Warren to protect the ball,
get them down the field.
Yeah.
They went away from what Michigan football is. Ground and pound. They went away from it, and the reason they went away from it is simple. They got spooked. They got scared that they wouldn't be able to come all the way back in this game. But you're facing a superior team like the Texas Longhorns, and you're facing a team in Arkansas State where you held a 21-3 lead after 3 periods. And then you blink and the Red Wolves are right on your tail. Problem. Major problem. This quarterback switch, and I'll say it again, the quarterback switch should light a fire under the Michigan offense, but Khalil Mullings needs to touch the ball a lot against USC because you don't want that high-flying USC offense to remain on the field. And again, this is their first road game in the Big Ten, and it's in your house. 3 different problems right there psychologically if you're Michigan, given what happened 2 weeks ago against Texas.
I agree. I think at this stage, Mullings should get the majority of the carries, and Donovan Edwards should be put in the slot. He should be moved around because he has the versatility to catch the ball down the field.
Yep,
and he can create matchup problems if a linebacker tries to cover him. So it's the coaching staff. It's which should, as you know, still matter oftentimes is the coaching staff.
Yep. Seen it so many times in my 40 years of watching football and last 29 of covering football, no matter what level. It depends on the coaching staff and how the coaches set them up. Are they setting them up for success? You got 5 days to figure it out because USC is coming in there with a chip on their shoulder after leaving the Pac-10, basically being forced to leave the Pac-10 because the Pac-10 didn't have any money. So they go to the Big Ten, present a pile of logistical problems, but they're ready to compete. The question is Michigan ready to compete with them?
That's going to be the big question. And I think myself going into the season, it was a wait and see type of approach. I know some folks are ready to jump out of the window right now, but it's a bit of a rebuild. Let's see how quickly they can rebuild. Yes, Abdul Gaines, we know you think USC is ready to go ham.
I don't think so. This is going to be a slog of a game for both teams. Remember, first time for USC playing in a new conference since God knows when. Because remember, USC and UCLA for the longest time were the identity of the Pac-10.
Yep.
Now they're playing in a new conference. It's like Texas and Oklahoma. But Texas is off to a major head start in the SEC over Oklahoma. And those two will see each other in a week's time in Dallas. And Texas is going to run them over. But Michigan has got to have their head on straight with this game with USC. They got to have their head on straight. For if they don't, you're going to have problems, big ones. If they lose this game against USC, even seeing the weapons that they have, you drop towards the bottom of the Big Ten, you lose a big conference game, which would keep you in the playoff hunt. And you lose to an opponent that somehow jumped you. And all that is going to do nothing but help USC recruit. If Michigan wins this game, and it's a 3:30 game on CBS, 3:30 Eastern time on CBS, which tells me Brad Nessler will have the call. It's a 3:30 game. It's a primetime afternoon game. It's on CBS. And anyone who's watched college football on CBS back in the 80s, if you had a 3:30 game, you had a primetime slot. And it's in the big house. Psychological advantages could be had all over the place. But Michigan needs to run the ball at least 40 times and keep that high-flying USC offense off the field. You don't keep them off the field, it's going to be a long afternoon for the Michigan Wolverines.
Yeah, no disagreements there. But I think it's interesting. It's interesting that you said USC is beatable, and it's interesting that right now they're only favored to win by a touchdown, 5.5. So the whoever's setting those scores.
Well, they want Vegas to take those odds in a hurry. They're setting this up. They're setting this up for a coup to happen, just in case Michigan does upset USC, and it would be an upset if it happens. But you got to keep Miller Moss and that Trojan offense off the field. And the way you do that is you give Caleb Millings the ball 30 times.
Yeah. Let's see. So Abdul Gaines says, Kenneth Joyce says, yeah, college football is always a mixed bag and lose potential recruits.
Yep. This is not only a big game in terms of the playoff this year. This is a big game in terms of the future when we talk recruiting. Because if USC comes into Michigan and beats them in their house, guess what they're going to do? They're going to flood the state of Michigan looking for recruits to come play at USC. You get a chance to be out in California. And I'm thinking along the psychological lines that if USC pulls this out, and that's a big if, because it is in the big house, and you're going to have 110,000 people breathing down your neck. I've been in that joint.
Well, then you also run the danger of the kids who, the future classes, those kids who have committed, decommitting and say, "Oh wow, I thought they were a national championship
and
team."
they're going to be sitting in the stands. No, change that. They're going to be sitting up in a booth, being hosted by the boosters, watching this. So not only are recruits is a recruitment territory on the line. There's also verbal recruits on the line also. Because if Michigan loses, all those verbal recruits are going to flip.
Okay. Everybody, please smash that like button. If you haven't, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. So Alex is piling on now. He says, I don't know if you guys know this, but Michigan won't have a season the next couple of years. So I think he's getting at NCAA, potential NCAA allegations and stuff. So that's
the stench of Jim Harbaugh. The absolute bloody stench of Jim Harbaugh. And brother, it's a bad one. Matter of fact, Michigan may suffer, and I hate putting this out there, and I may be totally wrong in thinking this, but think SMU 1986.
Here we go with the death penalty.
I said think it, and I also prefaced it by saying I could be totally wrong. It could only be a few games. It could only be a few players. It only could be a few scholarships. We won't know, and we won't know for a while, especially now since Jim Harbaugh dipped and is now with the Chargers.
Looks like he's having a good time too.
He came in, he did his duty, he delivered Michigan a championship. There were some allegations that were uncovered after he delivered that championship, and as soon as those allegations came out, he was out. I'm not dealing with this. I'm not backing these kids up. And he was on the first thing smoking in Los Angeles.
Okay. All right. Well, so Snowman, so as with the last couple of weeks, the Michigan offense has to show up for this game. And if they don't, it will be over relatively early. So who do you have? Let's zoom out a little bit. Who do you have winning the the national championship this year? You have Georgia.
Georgia.
Why Georgia over Texas?
Because it's going to be a high-scoring game, and the last team to have the ball wins. Think Ohio State, Georgia from 2 years ago. It's going to be that. It's going to be that kind of game. Georgia can put the ball in the end zone. So can Texas. But I think if they meet for the national championship in Atlanta, it's going to be, oddly enough, a defensive play that'll decide it. But as much as I believe in Steve Sarkisian and the Horns, and they are the number one team right now, to be the champs, you got to beat the champs. And right now, since Georgia didn't qualify for the playoffs last year, I just don't see anyone beating either one of those two teams.
Okay. They didn't look very impressive against Kentucky.
And they won.
I mean, it's still early. You know, that's
early. Kentucky played good. No, Kentucky played great defense against Georgia. They played great defense against Georgia. Problem? Kentucky fell by 1 point. And everybody's saying the same thing about Georgia that they said about Texas in 2008. Think about and Texas in that year lost to Texas Tech, if my memory serves correct. Thank you, Michael Crabtree. It's early, but 6 of the top 7 teams in the poll, guess what conference they're in?
SEC.
I rest my case. They're still setting it up to be SEC Big Ten. And right now, if you think about it, this game right here, USC and Michigan, is for a playoff spot. It may be early, but it's for a playoff spot.
You think so?
Michigan's 2-1. USC has a goose egg in the loss column. Michigan beats them, they're back in the race. If they don't, they fall further, and they're hanging on for dear life. So a playoff spot hangs in the balance.
Alex, I see you baiting me there in the chat, but I'm not taking it. I'm not taking it. And don't you feed into it, Snowman, either. Don't you?
My lips are closed. My lips are closed.
Alex, the only thing I'll say
is that Harbaugh messed up.
80 yards and 70 yards in 2022.
I have a feeling I know the answer to this, but I'll ask anyway. Who's this team?
Why I think we just went over that. That's why I asked him.
I missed it.
87 yards and 70 yards at the end of the game. He's an Ohio State guy.
That figures. I thought so. So he's
rooting like man. You ever played Donkey Kong when you were younger? I mean, not Donkey Kong, Punch Out.
Yes.
In the arcade.
Yes, the arcade 7-foot version of Punch Out. Yes.
You know, in that game, Donkey Kong is usually in the crowd rooting for your guy to lose. So that's Alex. He's like,
oh yeah. Well, Georgia's national championship game will come in 1 week's time, and that's a game I'll have on my channel when they go to Alabama. And unlike what War Room says, they will beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa.
You know what's surprising is that Alabama, it looks like they're still rolling. Even with Saban leaving and Kalen DeBoer going in there, it looks like they're still rolling.
It's early.
Okay.
And they got to come out smoking against the Dogs, who will be coming off of a bye. I have Georgia going into Alabama and beating them. Not by much, but I have them beating them.
Okay. War Room says Kentucky should have went for it on 4th down, but they chose to punt
in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And he's right. They should have gone for it. Kentucky played. That was the lone time Kentucky played scared, and it bit them. Bit them.
Yeah.
Kentucky should not have played scared in that moment.
Yeah. So when you have Georgia down, you gotta kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Dot again says UGA doesn't have a lot of depth at all, and Alabama is no slouch. The Tide are really good. Texas is good, but are we sure if Arch can get it done when it counts?
We'll find out when they get to Atlanta.
Okay.
We will find out when they get to Atlanta.
And then Worm says, I predict Georgia will lose to either Bama or Texas. And Alex thinks he's Jack Nicholson now. He says, I just want the truth, but you guys can't handle the truth. All right. All right.
You know what? Low key. You know what? I have an upset. I'm looking at these games. I have an upset brewing, and it'll occur in South Bend, Indiana.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Marcus Freeman's not having a good time.
No,
not having a good time.
He didn't realize what he took on when he signed up to be when he was hired to be the coach of Notre Dame. He's going to bite the bullet again in South Bend, Indiana this Saturday. As a matter of fact, Notre Dame goes down, Louisville goes down, and Mizzou's going to get the heck scared out of him. And that's a game I'm going to cover. Vanderbilt and Missouri. That's my early game.
Okay. All right. Well, Snowman, I'm at about an hour here. And yeah, I gotta I'm looking at the chat. I should probably wrap up. I gotta go.
Yeah, I think you better wrap up, get out of here, because Alex is just gonna keep coming. Trust me, I got chatters like that during the morning show.
Yeah, he's like the Terminator.
They just keep coming. They don't quit.
They don't quit.
Like Loyola Marymount basketball in 1990, as Greg Gumbel proudly said. They just don't quit.
It'll hunt you down until you're dead. It doesn't feel any feelings. It doesn't feel any remorse.
Mm-hmm.
It
doesn't feel pity.
Doesn't feel pity. Right.
It doesn't feel. It doesn't feel. You can't bargain with them. You can't reason with them. They don't feel pity. That's what we're looking at in the chat right now.
In the chat right now. All right. Snowman, you want to pump your channel and your show?
Hey, go to youtube.com/@SIT morning. That's where the morning show is being aired now. And we're on at now 8 a.m. on weekdays. And youtube.com/@snowman multimedia is being transitioned into a full play-by-play channel. That's where you get all of my alternative play-by-play calls. That's where you'll find them. The transition will be complete come October 1st. So hang around, folks. We're just getting started with our season.
All right, Alex paid you a compliment. He says, Snowman, great insight on the upsets.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex. I just know what my gut tells me when a season's rolling along. And Notre Dame's good. I think Notre Dame's going to bite the bullet again.
Snowman, did you ever hear the did you enjoy that the Lou Holtz smack talk last year?
Yep. Loved every minute of it.
You want to hear it? We'll play this for Alex.
Go ahead. Play it.
Yeah, here we go.
He has lost to Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, Michigan twice, and everybody that beats him does so because they're more physical than Ohio State. And I think Notre Dame will take that same approach.
I love it.
That never gets old.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't.
Alex, I think we got one more for you since you've been going ham there in the chat. We'll do one more for you.
This is a tough team right here. We're proud to be from Ohio, and it's always been Ohio against the world, and it'll continue to be Ohio against the world. But I'll tell you what, I love those kids, and we got a tough team.
Can I get Lou Holtz one more time before we wrap up?
All right. You want that one? You want another one?
Can I get Lou Holtz one more time?
All right. How about this one?
We have the best offensive line in the country. Sam Hartman won't even get his dirty all year. He has time to throw the football. The offensive line, we have great running back. Esteem is averaging about 10 yards a carry. We have great receivers. So offensively, we're set.
And I have a sound of my own.
Go for it.
As far as Alex goes, and I'm kidding around when I do this, with your insights, which are good, by the way, I jokingly say,
what in the all types of blue hell
are you looking at?
Yeah, that's one of your bread and butters right there.
Yep. You know that's one of my favorites.
What the all blue hell?
My boy Chris Bass gave me that and been using it ever since.
Okay. Well, all right, Snowman, I want to go wind down before something else happens here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
I'll talk to you offline.
Thanks, man.
All right, everyone. Thank you for hanging out through the technical stuff. Alex, everybody, thank you. It's a little disconcerting when you're doing a live stream and Chrome starts doing the circle thing because you have no control over it at that point. But so Michigan and USC, they kick off at 3:30 on Saturday. I will be front and center watching it. And, as one of Alex's other favorite content creators used to say, God willing and the creek don't rise, I will do a post-game reaction. But as Alex recommends here, or should I say Alex, one of Abdul's favorite content creators, God willing and the creek don't rise, please, consider subscribing. These technical things don't happen every time, but sometimes midweek, sometimes they like to happen. So with that, everyone, enjoy the rest of your night. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Do you think Michigan has a chance of winning on Saturday? Do you think Alex Orji is going to be the thing that turns Team 145 around? I'm personally excited to see what he's going to do and how different the offense will look with him under center. Hopefully, they don't pull him out and put Davis Warren back in during this game. I hope they let Alex Orji play the entire game so we can see once and for all what he can do when he's QB1. All right. And for those of you watching on the playback, you'll probably, well, at least tomorrow, you'll see an edited version of this because you can't edit it until in your YouTube studio until 24 hours after. Anyway, please like, share, and subscribe. And go blue. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. And always try to do your best. And take care. And I will talk to you the next time. When I drop down, you'll see this picture. I used this picture of Alex Orji and Davis Warren as my background. You'll see this. It's a funny, that picture of Davis Warren. Buckeye Alex, he can attest. He's a coach. Sports are hard, man. And sports are a meritocracy. And when it comes down to it, you have to prove what you can do. And in many instances, you have to earn your spot, and you have to keep your spot, and you have to earn what you keep. So Davis Warren, and I was one of the guilty parties. I saw Davis Warren throw that long touchdown pass in the spring game, and I said, "Whoa, Davis Warren looks pretty good." But it's easy to look good in a spring game or in a scrimmage, but it's a different thing to show it in the regular season. So now we get to see what Alex Orji can do as QB1. All right, everyone. I will talk to you the next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.